Shalom from Joel Blackford at Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. We're virtual only, based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do a little piece of revelation each week. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence, what's coming down the line, things like that. And we're talking about opening demonic portals because I live near Minneapolis and we watched it occur last week. Okay, so is it child abuse? Is it opening portals? What is woke? Woke is a statement of awareness only achieved by those dumb enough to find injustice in everything except their own behavior. But when does it move through to the demonic? According to the New York Post, transgender maniac shoots up Catholic school morning mass, killing 2 kids. So which one is it? Is it just woke? Is it child abuse? Is it moving towards the demonic? We'll discuss that today. It'll be interesting. We'll talk about the philosophy of the end of days. We'll talk about this man that was Robert Westman and the Bible, and we'll talk about the news. So the news, the what, is the shooting on August 27th. I clipped this from the city of Minneapolis rather than a news source just to show how much they omitted, just how little they described this. 2 children dead, okay, 18 other people injured. This should be much bolder in terms of what they're talking about, but they were injured. That's it. In the shooting in Minneapolis church, they omitted the Catholic school part. They admitted so much, and you can read the whole article, but the bottom line is there isn't much there. They're not willing to discuss anything at all because they know that the issue runs against what they believe at the city of Minneapolis. The who. Who should it be about? The kids and their grief and their prayers and their family connections, things like that. No, it's about the politicians because it's Minneapolis. And Minneapolis is a sick, twisted city. According to the mayor of Minneapolis, your prayers mean nothing. That's Mayor Frey. Mayor Frey is a scumbag, according to Gunther Eagleman. After telling Christians that prayer doesn't work, he's now doubling down on protecting the transgender community, and that's all that he stands for. And really, it came down to the guns. That the Minneapolis politicians and the Minnesota politicians immediately doubled down on, we want to confiscate your guns, which doesn't solve anything when it's mental health related. I mean, a mentally ill person could pick up a rock and throw it, and that would be just as disastrous. I mean, death is death, whether it comes from a gun or it comes from a rock. So, shooter fired at praying children through church windows. That's from CNN. So it's interesting. So we know that there was a horrible person during World War II, that he didn't say it exactly this way, but he did intonate it, to conquer a nation from first disarm its citizens. Okay. So on the right-hand side, this is Amy Klobuchar. Can't stand her at all. Democratic Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar calls into MSNBC, turns a horrific mass shooting at a Minneapolis school today that took the lives of children into a political commercial against Republicans. All the work we've done to ban those automatic rifles and do something when it comes to the background checks and everything, we keep getting thwarted. We were able to pass a limited measure, but not enough to stop something like this. You stop it from the mental health side, not from guns, not from rocks or sticks or knives or anything like that. Okay? They're narcissists. These politicians are narcissists, and they're literally worthless. So we've had this problem. Now, Jason Lewis is one of the good guys from Minnesota. He was our state rep for a period of time, one of them. Minnesota is a product of its culture, whether epic riots, gang shootings, violence at the once tranquil state fair, or today's mass shooting aimed at Catholic children, perpetrated by an evildoer seen as marginalized by state politicians and institutions. So thank you, Jason, for being wise. He's a constitutional scholar and a brilliant man, and we have losers in office in Minnesota, and that's the problem. And what they preach is abort your children, import hostile immigrants, disarm yourselves. That's the party that we live in Minnesota. And I think in part because of the ELCA mentality, which is that Lutheran church that just is completely godless. And so they encourage these types of things, whether they're Catholic or Lutheran or whatever it happens to be. The main thing is this is a progression of mental illness, and no one wants to discuss it because we're Minnesota. It's not the guns. It is, where is your God? That is the serious question, because Minnesota has walked away from God many, many years ago. So you're going to have more problems over the years. And you can see the issues of non-binary or trans or gender fluid or whatever else. It is about the drugs that they put the kids on that warp their little minds. And they put it on during puberty, which is the worst time possible. So the statement from this particular shooter, Robert or Robin Westman, was, "When will this end? Help me. I don't want to. Help." And then obviously end himself. And you can see the demon in the picture there. It's about mental illness disorders. That's what it's about. Anxiety, depression, bipolar, obsessive compulsive, trauma, stress, or substance related. Sure, yeah. Personality disorders, sleep disorders, eating disorders, schizophrenia, spectrum, things like that, psychotic breaks. That's what this is about. It's never been about the weaponry that you could find, because once again, you could find a knife or a rock and take care of business. So the what is, what are we going to do about this? Because the next day in Massachusetts, according to this article, which is from Andy Nago, Andy New, our police in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, hiding that a trans person arrested over a shooting homicide the day after the Minneapolis trans mass shooting. Okay, so just one day after the trans mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church and School in Minneapolis by Robin Westman, another trans-identifying individual has been arrested on suspicion of murder in the U.S. Snehal Shavat, whatever, 26-year-old male, goes by the name of Sasha Shakur and identifies as she, her pronouns, was taken into custody in Massachusetts on August 28th after allegedly shooting and killing a father near Jordan Park. The victim confronted that person over vandalism of public property and had just dropped off his child at a nearby elementary school. And he's dead now because he confronted, because we aren't dealing with the mental illnesses at all. And the demonics, the progression. Okay, so this is from Fallen, and he posts the first 5 pages of the Russian version translated from this particular person, once again, Robert or Robin Westman. Okay, I don't know why, but sometimes I feel like I am being controlled by this computer. I feel like this device is making me write my thoughts. This notebook is just a way to organize my thoughts, my will, my essence, and my soul. Sometimes it seems to me that I am writing some kind of code. From this, my head spins and I don't understand who I really am. He's on drugs, strange drugs. We don't know what they were, but he's on drugs. But at this time, I feel clarity in my thoughts and actions. I imagine that this notebook is a program and I am a processor that executes commands, and he did execute. Sometimes I feel like I'm in virtual reality. Sometimes it seems like I am being watched. I'm afraid of myself. I don't know what will happen next. People around me don't understand me. They think I'm sick, but maybe I'm just different. No, he was sick, mentally ill. The Minneapolis shooter, confusion, and the complicit complacency concept from James Zumwalt. Westman had legally changed his name from Robert to Robin in 2019, as court documents stated. He identifies as female, an entry made in his journal while at the planning stages of the shooting read, "I don't want to dress girly all the time, but I guess sometimes I really like it. I know I am not a woman, but I definitely don't feel like a man. I really like my outfit. I look pretty, smart, and modest. I think I want to wear something like this for my shooting." Do you see the progression? So we're dealing with, this is Fox, and legal group sues FDA over puberty blocker records, citing alleged Biden era cover-up. I'm sorry. Allergies today again. Ragweed. The lawsuit follows earlier FDA emails showing awareness of mental health kids tied to puberty blockers from Alex Schimmel from Fox, published August 29th, legal and regulatory risks, discontinuing the prescription of gender-affirming medication. Are they going to pull back on this? Because what they're doing is they're hitting kids at that vulnerable time that they might grow out of this, and they're giving them drugs that screw up their minds. So are we protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation? Not in Minnesota, okay? So I've studied M. Scott Peck for years. Psychiatrist, brilliant. He went into this as an agnostic or an atheist and said, there's no way there's anything called demon possession. The problem is he looked at it long enough and said, oh my, some of them are. Not all, some, okay? But there's a progression that you go through. And so the progression there are gateway openings. I'll call them sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They're the easiest ones to cite. But there's depression, oppression, possession, and then ultimately death for these people, whether they're walking dead or actually dead. So the people of the lie and the hope for healing human evil, and then M. Scott Peck, glimpses of the devil, where he literally cites possessed cases that he worked on. And this guy did not believe in God until the end. And then he realized, oh, yeah, because if there is evil, there is a God. Okay, because evil stands opposed to God, who is good. Narcissists, supposedly superior views. That is part of the progression. No matter what, a narcissist must feel superior at all times. They will go to any length to ensure this delusion is maintained at all times. And what we're noticing is their superiority is now akin to morality. Narcissists now believe they are morally superior to the godly based on their supposedly superior views. So they come up with their moral views, and then they contrast it with the Bible, and they say we are morally superior to the Bible because our views are eco views or ecological or whatever else it is in terms of whatever they want to believe at this point in time. And this is all gaslighting. It's all horrible, horrible. You didn't see what you saw. You didn't say what you said. You didn't hear. You don't know what you're hearing. You know, they're constantly gaslighting. And guys, I was married to a woman that did this to me for 25 years. I was a business owner. I was successful. And she just destroyed it by lying and stealing and all sorts of other stuff. So I know the gaslighting. And guess what? Through her sex with another guy, she brought demons into our household. So I know the process that they go through. I've lived it, unfortunately. So the war on reality is over from James H. Kunstler. The war on reality. Yep, Minneapolis suspect knew her target, but motive is a mystery. The shooter who attacked the Catholic school on Wednesday posted social media videos and writings that betrayed a litany of grievances and obsessions. On the right-hand side, it was a him, not a her. 23-year-old Robert Westman, pretending to be female for some years since undergoing puberty with encouragement of his mother especially, but parents, and the cultural leaders of his city, including Governor Tim Walz, Mayor Jacob Frey, backed by the expressed principles of the National Democratic Party. In essence, the essence of all of this was a gigantic game of pretend, and that's what it always is, maintaining a political racketeering operation so the Democrats get reelected from this. They pretend that men can become women, pretend that COVID vaccinations are safe and effective, pretend that national borders don't matter, pretend that crime is not a social problem, pretend that riots are mostly peaceful, pretend that our elections are free and fair, pretend that Joe Biden is our president or was, pretend that Ukraine is fighting for democracy. No, they're fighting for corruption. So Robert Westman became insane, at least at the time of puberty, possibly earlier. His parents, especially mother, resorted to persuading their child that he was born in the wrong body. He was thereafter influenced to play act as a female. Possibly he was induced to go through some stage of medical treatment to supposedly advance his transition to the opposite sex. Continuing on with Kunstler, gender-affirming medical care is a vicious fraud, according to him, and it is. Males cannot be changed into females. What you're just doing is introducing horrible disfigurations and diseases from the problems where it just doesn't work out. And then they want to transition back, but they can't. So they're altered from the surgery, the costuming, the makeup, the other things like that. It's all nightmarish. Okay. In the case of the psycho killer, he discovered his tragic mistake in exactly that period of life, emerging into adulthood when the emotions were the toughest. If he happened to be on psychotropic drugs such as SSRIs, Prozac, Zoloft, Paxil, Celexa, known to produce suicidal and homicidal thinking combined with his emotional instability, there were obvious recipes for disaster here. So, finish it up with Kunstler. Westman evinced stark rage and despair over the poor choice he was induced to make at the time in his life before the judgment of that region of his brain had fully developed. I'm tired of being trans, he wrote. I wish I had never been brainwashed myself. Tim Walz's trans refuge state of Minnesota is the problem. The state that also gave us George Floyd, the fake martyr to black victimhood whose death provoked years of long national race hustle. And of course, Tim Walz was a recent standard bearer for the Democratic Party, a signature figure for all of their insanity. Yes, we're stuck in Minnesota with crazy politicians that are narcissists. Okay, so according to Tucker Carlson, and this is a PhD, not a PhD, but this is a psychiatrist. So he's a medical doctor, and also he has the psychiatric degree. Joseph Witt Doring, 1/5, up to 1/5 are on SSRIs. Okay, that's 20%, people, and it always ends poorly. They go through this progression that I already described until they hit the demonics at some point in time. They tend to become evil. Okay, so once again, there's that picture again of him with his demon, but Joy Pullman describes it this way: the striking example of what I talked about with this church last week is how Christ haters are sometimes more honest about their culture war than Christians. It's a spiritual war, and the demons know it. We should too. Thank you, Joy. You are correct. That's what it is. Why do you think I named my book series, my trilogy, War of the Unseen Worlds? That's where we are. So this is Romans 1:28. That's where we're dealing with. I want you to look at a few specific words, the wers and the r's, the past tense and present tense. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, and God gave them over to a debased mind to do what ought not be done, they were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, and malice. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice, maliciousness. They are gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Though they know God's righteous decree that those who practice such things deserve to die, they not only do them, but give approval. His mother, okay, she pushed him into this to those who practice them. That's Romans 1:28 through 32. So the access occurs, and his mom helped him with the access. There's the picture of his mother down below. She won't come back from Florida because she knows she's in big trouble. So it leads to the next step, which is, this is Revelation 21:8, which is, there are certain people that are not allowed into heaven or into anything, into righteousness. They are the cowardly, the unbelieving, the detestable, murderers, sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars. The portion, they'll be thrown into the lake of fire, which is the second death. So what I want you to see is these words. These portals seem to open up inside of us to allow the demons in. Now, that doesn't mean that you go through immediately into possession. You go through those various levels that I showed you a little while ago. And so once again, it's depression, then it's demonization, then demon possessed, and you move on through. But these seem to be portals that allow it in. Okay? And then what's the end game of all of this? Satan wants a big war. He wants us to hate each other. Why can't we just love each other? I mean, why do we need this war? Because Satan is going to be released at the end. So according to Duduman and Wilkerson, two of the guys that cite all the time, Duduman called it a revolution. Wilkerson called it a civil war. He qualified it by saying it won't be like the Civil War of the 1800s, 1865. It's going to be in our midst. Major cities like New York, Miami, Chicago, LA, Boston, Houston, Dallas, Detroit, St. Louis, San Francisco, Denver. Bloodshed is going to be beyond all imaginings because they're awakening this. The demonism is there from the end times, but then they add to it with the drugs. Okay, all these SSRIs. Okay, incredible turmoil would come upon them suddenly. They would be tortured and persecuted. The Christians would face hard times, loss of homes, confiscation of worldly goods, attacks from vicious men. These are all the incredible changes ahead. And Don helps me put this stuff together. So the when, I don't know, but it's coming. You're seeing it. This is Wilkerson on this side. So Duduman first prophesied that the revolution will start with the communists stirring up the fighting. This means the communists will be fighting against the current, I believe, Trump government. Okay, that goes along with Wilkerson's prophecy too, because I find Dimitri's prophecies and Wilkerson prophecies always are in perfect synchronization. Thank you, Don. Wilkerson prophesied the Antichrist must destroy the USA before the Antichrist ceases global power. So the USA is going to be one of the last ones to fall. Duduman said that when the USA is destroyed, China will go against Russia, and Russia will be appointed the world leaders. They win, as Wilkerson prophesied, Europe will be their allies at that point, with the Antichrist obviously at the head of the world. That means we're going to be gone. So he thinks it's only 2 to 3 years left in this world. We'll see. Yeah. Arrest Trump before he's appointed president. Spark revolution immediately. Thank you, Don, for bringing that up. Duduman again. Remember this, Duduman, Dmitry. The Russian spies have discovered where the nuclear warehouses are in America. When Americans will think it's peace and safety from the middle of the country, some of the people will start fighting against, I believe, the Trump's government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the ocean, from Cuba, Nicaragua, Mexico, he told me 2 other countries, but I didn't remember what they were. They will bomb the nuclear warehouses. When they explode, America will burn. That's Revelation 18, people. So a little bit more from Wilkerson, prophesied a few years ago that in the coming days, more than 1,000 fires would set New York City ablaze. I see those fires in my mind's eye. I smell the smoke, and I hear the galloping of the red horse. Most Christians don't like to hear any of this, but this violence is exactly what the Bible tells us to prepare for. The entire outlook on life is about to change. The way we pray, the way we think, you have to double down on God. You really have to believe. When all peace is taken, that's Lakak Shalom, according to Wilkerson, you have to find God anew. So what's coming up then? Basically, capitalism will run amok. We will have Trump Gaza and other crazy things like that. Trump is forming peace agreements based on finances. Christian nationalists will be preaching Jesus plus prosperity. It's a paper tiger. Trump will pump financial speculation amidst the peace plans for Russia, Ukraine, and other places. Big tech will build the beast system right underneath our noses. Israel probably will be divided in this fake peacetime. Okay, globalists escalate World War III with Russia while planning to take down Trump by eviscerating markets. Rumors of revolutions phase. Germany will fall first. That's Wilkerson. Japan will fall next. America will teeter. Civil unrest will be global. That's the time to preach the gospel. People will finally listen to you. God divides America for dividing Israel. Trump will fall with America, with the American financial holocaust as it becomes weak and helpless. Midpoint of the tribulation, the Pope would hand the world over to the beast, while big tech will hand the beast tech system to the beast, and he'll run it at the end. Russia and the BRICS will attack America with nukes. Great tribulation, gospel preached. That's what's coming up. We're in the birth pangs. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the great tribulation. What are we talking about here? We're talking about, the progression towards the evil of the end times, but also the progression of people towards starting the evil. Okay. And so I believe the portals are being opened. Sometimes in the skies, you can see these round portals opening up, but it's all a progression to civil war. You need to work on you and your family. You'll get married on a Rosh Hashanah, a Yom Kippur, a Sukkot. You'll need clean garments. You have to wear something clean. It's a wedding, and you can't be naked. Thank you very much for your time. God bless, and we'll see you next week. Bye.